I am Citizen Jones Hussein. You know, it's about 21 days to go to the conduct of the 2023 general election, so get your PVC in readiness to vote at the polls. Now, today on the program, terrorist leader Valeri boasts that they have bought weapons with more than 10 million naira of the new notes. Interesting. Displays notes in viral video, just as CBN allows over-the-counter withdrawals with POS operators charging 10%. I'm hanging out with Baba Jide Kolade Otitoju. Jide, I have not seen you since the year broke, right? So, happy new calendar year to you.
Yeah, happy new year.
Yeah.
May the year in the coming days show greater promise.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
For now, we have serious cause for concern.
Okay. All right. Emeka Madonagi is also here.
Yes. Good evening.
Jide, Emeka, as an Anambra boy, is not complaining.
No, he's complaining, but he has chosen not to use this platform to complain.
Okay. After all this,
But it's
my
in his
people,
best interest to use it.
my people say, man, no, they cry for public. So let
now,
it
when
be.
adversity never reached that level, if you reach that level, nobody will tell you when you will cry.
All right, so the team is ready. I hope you are. Of Borno State was given more impetus with the unveiling of a water project at Mbon village, I hope that's right, in the Chibok local government area of the state. Now, the project has the capacity for distribution of 1.25 million liters of water. This is a boon for about 40,000 residents of the community. In addition to this, the governor, Professor Zulum, inaugurated a new junior secondary school in Askira town with classrooms for 1,000 students who received uniforms, reading and writing materials. It can only get better, Jide.
Yes, you know, there is something unique that Governor Zulum does for students to improve school enrollment. And school enrollment in Borno has been growing geometrically because of the quality of those schools, the infrastructure of the schools, you know. And the schools are very pleasing on the eye. You see some of those buildings, you think they are Senate buildings of some universities. Now, it provides bicycles for the male students.
Really?
So with the bicycles, they can ride to school. Even these students that he just built a new school for, beyond the writing material, uniforms that they provided them, they also provided them with bicycles. You need to see when Borno students are going to school in the morning, you see those male students, you know, dozens of them riding on bicycle to school. Then the female students, buses have been provided to convey them to school from different points. And a lot of these students are actually orphans. You know, it will have been double tragedy for these students if they've lost both parents and they can't go to school. The government makes it a point of duty, working with community leaders to identify these orphans and put them in schools close to their communities where they are residing. And of course, it is for Bordeaux students, this is a good time to go to school because virtually everything that you need is there. Playing, all these slides that children like to use, all the infrastructure that makes school to be something that you like to go to have already been provided. Some of them, if you see them, you think they are private schools. Of how beautiful they are, how colorful they are, the way they played with colors, you know. So now, since the Chibok area is becoming safer, you can see now that he has chosen to now provide water supply in that area. We hardly hear of reports of attacks in that area now because the military is winning the war. No one will say they've won the war, but they are making progress, and one can see that even attacks on our troops rarely happen, these days. So the governor is now encouraged as a result of improvement in security to provide water supply, surface tank, just about 750,000 liters, and then 500,000 overhead tank and all that. So these are things that encourage the people. And by the time Borno State is fully cleansed of the elements killing our people, I can tell you that that state will experience real growth and development in all spheres of life.
Emeka, that's leadership means leading from the front. So it can only get better, as I said.
Yeah, that's a fact. Yeah, I commend the governor, but I want to just quickly point out that there was something, he observed, and I hope corrections are being made, talking about the quality of teaching. He observed sometime last year when he visited somewhere. That to me is, yes, it's good to have infrastructure, physical infrastructure, because learning must take place in a conducive environment. But along with it, what will make that environment really pleasing, at least something for the pupils to look forward to going to from Monday to Friday, is also the quality of teaching, the quality of learning. And the state government should actually look into that, so that all of these investments that the current state government is making will be for the interest of the people. And the governor should also take note of one problem that governors usually have in Nigeria. They set up laudable projects, but some of these things are not backed up by enabling legislation, pieces of legislation, by laws. So when their predecessors come in, they just can
change the narrative,
change it, or throw them, or abandon such projects. You just find a new governor comes in, and he decides to take education
to chart his own course.
Yes, in a different direction. So it's not as if there's a policy which the state government ought to follow. There's a universal policy, universal basic education policy. But how many governors in Nigeria are actually following it up? How many governors in Nigeria are actually paying counterpart funding? How many governors in Nigeria are actually investing in education with what Zulum is, in the way that Zulum is doing? How many of them? So he should continue, but that aspect, I think with him, he should look into it.
Jide, we might add curriculum, very key here.
Yes.
Yeah, what are we teaching them?
Now, I've seen even technical schools in Borno State provided with enough equipment, enough gadgets, enough tools to make entrepreneurs out of these students once they are out of school. There is a school again set up for orphans on the outskirts of the capital. Some of the tools that I found in the school, honestly, I was amazed. Sometimes I ask myself where the government gets all this money. So some of them would easily transit from the school to careers in tailoring and other vocations.
Vocational skills.
Yes. Because let's face it, it's not all of us that can excel in school and even transit up to university level. Some will stop at the level of that technical school, and they don't have to go further. They'll be professionals in their own rights and all that. So the government has already made that possible, and I'm sure that will help a lot of these boys and girls to be able to stand alone and not without waiting for white-collar jobs that are not there.
The key is finding the ideal environment to learn in.
Yes, and the environment is ideal. You find air condition, in some of those schools. You find, because the weather can be very harsh at this time, but they've deliberately provided air condition and even solar
panels and stuff.
Yes, to provide alternative means of generating power.
All right. So as we move to our next story, ours is just to wish Professor Babagana Zulum, Governor of Borno State, Godspeed. All right, now, like a Daniel come to judgment, the judiciary has intervened in the political jigsaw involving the Labour Party across the country. Justice Inyang of the Federal High Court, Abuja, has ordered the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to accept the nomination of candidates of the Labour Party in 24 states ahead of the coming general election. It must do so manually or through its electronic nomination portal. Justice Ekwa said INEC violated sections 31, 33, and 36 of the Electoral Act 2022 in rejecting the party's candidates on grounds of non-functioning nomination portals in the 24 affected states. Jide, you wonder if Macaulay Machiavelli was correct when he said politics has no relation to morals.
Yeah, laws are meant to be obeyed. You cannot punish the Labour Party for your own inefficiencies. I found the excuse given by INEC that as a result of its non-functional electronic nomination portal, Labour Party could not visit the portal to submit the
names,
a list of the names of its candidates in those states. That's like punishing Labour for your own inefficiency. And the judge is saying, look, whether manual or by electronic module, you must accept this candidate because it's not their fault that they couldn't get through that they couldn't use the portal to upload the list of their candidates, because you admitted that at that time that the portal malfunctioned. So you can't then punish them, because if it had not malfunctioned, they would have been able to upload those names, and those guys would have met the deadline. But in this case, it's not their fault. You admitted that this was what happened. So the judge felt, look, INEC had breached section 36 of the
Electoral Act.
Yes, breached section 31 as well as 33. So it makes sense to go ahead and have those guys listed amongst candidates for the elections. And we are talking about 24 states here. It will have been
quite two-thirds of the states.
A big injustice if the court had not stepped in to say, look, there was exchange of letters. Labour explained what transpired. You have admitted that indeed your portal had issues. So why would you then punish them for their inability to make use of the portal at that time to do the job of front-loading their candidates?
Yeah. Emeka, in law, interpretation is key. So we cannot but be thankful the judiciary has stepped in here.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate that INEC, a number of INEC officials have appeared to have a poor understanding of what the Electoral Act says and what the Constitution says. So you see it in their conduct, in terms of nominations, in terms of the handling of the PVCs, in terms of a number of other things. It shows poor understanding. And this has kept the courts overburdened with simple issues that could have been sorted out by INEC. And this tells a lot about, glaring inefficiencies in INEC's operation. It also calls to question how committed INEC is to ensuring free, fair, and credible elections. Because if your officials could brazenly try to deny candidates, Labour Party candidates in 24 states of nomination, then because your portal malfunctioned, then we can imagine other infractions not mentioned that have been committed by INEC. I think in this, I hope the National Assembly, I've said this before, I hope the National Assembly would consider inserting punishers who commit some of these infractions. Because it appears they just get away with some of these things. They even get rewarded. You see, things done by INEC officials deliberately out to sabotage the electoral system. And the court just says, okay, do this or do this. But there is no punishment. And where there is no punishment, you find impunity. This should be a case. Whoever at the national level of INEC sanctioned this ought to be punished. In fact, ought to be removed.
Yeah.
Because this is really embarrassing. You have kept these people out of the electioneering process. This is just how many days to the elections. How do you now want them to begin to prepare, to begin to participate, to campaign, and do all of that? Within what space of time? You have breached their constitutional rights, and it's unacceptable. In the electoral, there must be stiff punishments. There must be stiff punishment for people, INEC officials who engage in such unconstitutional and brazenly criminal acts.
Yeah. Jide, but it's quite a big problem not punishing bad behavior here. Because as he has just said, it is one thing to make a pronouncement. It's another thing to punish wrongdoing. It's only natural.
Yes, and at INEC there are so many blacklegs, so many of them. They don't follow the...
Of course, they are Nigerians.
Yes, the Nigerian factor gets in the way of their work. INEC rule book is there, but they don't follow the rule book to the letter. For example, INEC rule book says where election is characterized by violence at any polling unit, the results from there should be cancelled. But we saw INEC in Kogi, in Bayelsa, during the off-season elections, return results from even places where the evidence of violence was staggering. So these guys are the problem. And when INEC said it made sense to be using academics for the conduct of his elections, we saw a professor blatantly rig election in Akwa Ibom State. So
because I did.
Well, if I talk now, your governor will complain.
Go on, I beg.
So, and it's not, this thing is not just because INEC likes to use ad hoc staff. For example, I suggested to INEC before that, for off-season elections, why should you use ad hoc staff? Use your own full-time staff that their states are not far away from the state where you have the off-season election. What are they doing at that time that you can't use them, that you have to use ad hoc staff? These ad hoc staff have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Unlike a public servant who had been working for years and he knows the implication of reputational damage and all that. So why don't you just do what is right? If there's an off-season election in Ondo State and Ekiti has not got an off-season election at that time, why not take staff from or even Ogun State? Take them, let them go. Why must you use ad hoc staff? And this ad hoc staff, a lot of them work with politicians to compromise the process. INEC knows this.
Even the mode of recruiting them. He's also,
I don't even know how they recruit some of these people, honestly, but it's clear that a lot of them are agents of politicians. You saw what happened in Osun State, where the law says that beavers shall be the accreditation module, the electronic accreditation module, and only people accredited by beavers shall be allowed to vote in an election. And we saw a situation in which people clearly were not captured by beavers ended up voting. Whereas that was the basis upon which that was the basis upon which Akpabio lost his election in Akwa Ibom to Ekpeyong. Because INEC simply presented the record that shows that, look, the card reader created this number of people. Not as high as the 50,000 that you brought.
All right, I hear we must go on. Emeka, but you see, you are surprised that after close to 63 years of independence, our politicians are still Machiavellian.
Yeah, because politics has remained the most lucrative venture in Nigeria, side by side with crime. So you see so much attention paid to so much huge resources, billions put into organizing something that will just last for a few hours. Whereas, many other countries have been able to simplify the process of election.
All right, then. Let's go to our next story. Political horse trading is not a new phenomenon in Nigerian politics. It simply means an official discussion in which people make agreements that provide both sides with advantages, hard bargaining to obtain equal concession by both sides. The Senator Rabiu Kwankwaso Presidential Campaign Organization has dispelled speculations that the NNPC flag bearer is considering stepping down for the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Now, reacting to this speculation, the spokesman of the NNPP Presidential Campaign Council, Ladipo Johnson, said Senator Kwankwaso is in the race to win. Emeka, we couldn't agree more with him.
Well, politics is a very interesting matter. Yes, there have been speculations here and there. This one is leaving the race.
Yeah, that's politics.
This one is stepping down. This one is that one. All of this put together will make the political season interesting. And how I wish politicians would just leave it at that, so that that will leave out the violence and killings and all of that. I wish to just be about this horse trading and talking and all of that, discussions about issues, exchange of brickbats. Like we saw, at least I witnessed on the politics of the 70s. Yes. At least the late 70s that led into the Second Republic.
Yeah.
And then the Third Republic. So you see, even coming into the Fourth Republic, the early part, before we now started having all sorts of
sometimes
ugly things.
Wonder where we dropped the ball.
Well, it's sad. The desperation is too much.
Yes, getting too much.
If I want to go and serve the people, why do I need to threaten my opponents? Why do I need to want to kill anybody? Why? It should be about, look at the politics of the First Republic. People truth out to listen to politicians, so they could even get new words. Those big words then. What's today?
Journalists had a field day.
Those phrases, those boycott the boycottables, political juggernaut.
Accord Concordia.
Those big words,
when they comes to become.
Comes to become. So many things.
So all that's gone.
Even what about something like Penkele Messi? Imagine explaining it to young people today. Things like that. Those were the things that the media feasted upon those days. But what is going on now?
All right. I hear Ini has joined us from Delta. Good evening. How are you? Welcome.
Hello, Mr. Asiri. Compliment of the season.
Same to you. Welcome.
Yeah. Issue of But no state governor yet is a very good kudos. At least people will feel the presence of government. We thank God for that. And the people can now return back to their various place of abode. The issue of the issue, there is no money in town. People are hungry. People are hungry. Let's leave this politician and let us see what is happening to us in this country. People are hungry. Mr. Babajide, please, you are the voice of the voiceless. Please, speak to these people indirectly. Please. Thank you and God bless you.
Ini, thank you. Except, Jide, Nigerians complain a lot.
In this season, there is every reason to complain. If you are not complaining, then you are part of the oppressors. That's what it means. This season, if you have even the old notes, people can lay their hands on it. You told people to bring money, they brought the money. After they brought it, to take part of their thing back became a problem. You said, okay, the withdrawal limit, you pegged it at 500,000. Then during this season, you said, no, don't even give people money across the counter. Then later on, you said, okay, give them 20,000.
I know we are coming to that story, but then...
You know, that was the question you asked. So I needed to find this thing, validation for what the guy said. Or coming to Kwankwaso, it was Atiku said he was in talks with...
the NM people.
Yes, as well as Labour. Why are you making claims that
are not verifiable?
Yes, you know we can actually verify and expose the lies that you are telling people. Now look at the way
desperation.
He wants to appear, he wants to smell like roses before people. Show that look, he has momentum. People are going to vote for him. He's working with, and then people came out to say no such thing has happened. And in fact, they are saying that he is the one who is supposed to step down for them. You know, that's humiliation. What kind of claim are you making? It is clear that Labour, the other day, it was Kwankwaso himself was abusing the Labour Party candidate. It's clear that these two parties will not step down for anybody. They won't step down. Obi will not risk the support that he's getting in the south, in the southeast, to go and step down for an article. He will not do that.
How does he even sell it?
That is going to. They will even tell him, "Don't come home." If he announces that, they will tell, "Don't come home. Just stay where you are." Then Kwankwaso too wants to be the most dominant politician in the north. Every one of them can see that Buhari is on his way out. By the time Buhari retires to Daura, he will not have anything to do with politics anymore. His aim of becoming Nigeria's civilian president has been achieved. He has nothing again to lose. So he will retire to Daura as he has promised, and he will not be involved in politics anymore. So that void that will inexorably be created by his departure, people like Kwankwaso, they're already eyeing that spot to be the alpha male of politics in northern Nigeria.
Perhaps the only cock that crows.
So the biggest fish in the pond. So he will not want an Atiku to dominate him. So he wants people to see him as the biggest politician with the biggest following in northern Nigeria. You know, Atiku's biggest votes had always come from outside of
his domain.
Of the north. You know, so this election, because Buhari is not in the race, he wants to be seen as the man who has inherited Buhari's usual 12 million votes. You know.
Okay, but let's inherit some money here. We'll go on a break, commercial break, and come back. But please stay.
My sister, do you know that winning an election is not only about getting the majority vote? For that your candidate to be declared winner of the election, he or she must secure 25% of the vote in 2/3 of all states plus the FCT to be president, and 25% of the vote in 2/3 of all local governments of a state to be governor. This is constitutional, and every presidential candidate has had to pass this threshold. Even governors have had to make this mark to get elected in their states. We live in one country with different languages, religions, and ethnic groups. This is why it is not enough to have only northern votes, or southern votes, or eastern votes, or western votes. The only way to get elected as president or governor is by gaining enough support across the country and states. Let us make sure that we know now so that we don't cause an issue tomorrow. This message is brought to you by the Center for Democracy and Development, CDD, with support from the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, FCDO.
A day to remember in the history of our dear country, Nigeria. 9 wise men from the north who are governors came together on June 8th, 2022 to stand for equity and fairness in the interest of our nation, Nigeria. They buried personal interest for the unity of our country. They supported the call that power must shift to the south in 2023. They chose a Nigeria agenda. We salute our brothers and sisters in the northern part of this country who, in spite of their vote advantage, continue to propagate the unity of Nigeria by promoting rotational presidency between the north and southern part of the country. Let voters in the north follow the move by these leaders. Vote for power shift to the south. It's the turn of the south to produce the president in 2023. Let's vote Bola Tinubu for president for a renewed hope of better Nigeria. Vote Kashim Shettima as vice president. Vote APC. Long live the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The Executive Vice Chairman and Chief Executive, National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure, NASENI, Engineer Professor Mohammed Sani Haruna, OFR, cordially invites stakeholders, policymakers, entrepreneurs, and the general public to the official commissioning of the Agricultural Machinery and Equipment Development Institute, AMEDI, Lafia, Nasarawa State, equipped with modern laboratories and machines for mechanized farming and agricultural development in the country. Date, Saturday, 4th February 2023. Time, 10 a.m. prompt. Venue, Agricultural Machinery and Equipment Development Institute, AMEDI, opposite NNPC Mega Filling Station, Lafia, Nasarawa State. Special guest of honor, His Excellency Muhammadu Buhari, President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Chief host, the Executive Governor of Nasarawa State, Engineer Abdullahi A. Suley. Announcer, Management.
All right. Welcome back, folks. We might as well just run the story home, Emeka. So now, Kwankwaso is not stepping down for anybody.
So he says,
the game
as at now. Yeah, the game is on. Whatever he decides to do at the end of the day, it's all part of politicking. But the interest of the people should be paramount. Let it
because the elector is king at this point.
Yes, let the politicking be about providing solutions to our problems, not about politicians seeking to pull down one another or kill other candidates or their supporters. Let it be about issues. Because we have the other man who called and he said, hunger, no money, nothing. So it's not an easy road we're traveling right now. Things are really difficult for people.
All right, let's move to our last story. You know, we are not just living in interesting times, but in times that try men's souls. A notorious terrorist leader, Kachala Baleri, boasts that his gang had bought weapons with the new Naira notes, even when Nigerians legitimately battled to get them from commercial banks. He, Baleri, audaciously flaunts the new notes in a viral video. But the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has given the nod for over-the-counter withdrawals to point-of-sale, that's POS operators, who may charge 10% of such withdrawals. Now let's share the video of the terrorist leader with you first. Watch this.
shine zai tsaya maganin abin da a cikin Najeriya. Kaga an dawo ne talaka ne wasu basu ji basu gani ba an ce za a canza kuɗi a yi to shi wani talaka ma bai sa abin da a canjin kuɗi wani ma a waye gari bai da 10,000 sai sa ya ta waye ya je ya nema sannan ya samu ya harkar gaba ne. To shi wanda adda miliyoyin kuɗi cikin gari an ce za a canza ai kaga hayar waje kaga ta koma wannan kan tsakanin su ne. To yanzu wani nan ma in ka bincika ka ji cikin ɗan Najeriya wani ma da a cikin dajin kuɗin ma da suke nufi suna canzawa ne to wani ma da a ciki ko wani ma kuɗin ma bai same su ba amma kaga kuɗin da ake nufi yan ta'adda ne kaga kuɗin sun zo hannunsu kaga wannan suna nuhin 1,000 ce wannan suna nuhin 200 ce jikka guda ma'ana da wani kuma da ta to sannu da suke gani wannan an gwada masa kaɗan ne daga ciki dangance da ɓangaren irin waɗannan ma yanzu to buhuhuwa waɗanda an gare mu Allah ɗaya san iyakarsu waɗannan ma da an gare su to sun dawo hannunmu ne wannan daga ciki ne yanzu kaga har mun sai makamai da su ne waɗanda za mu yaƙe su ne muna sauraron abin da za su ƙara faɗi yanzu ta kan ɓangaren haka nan ne mu abinmu da muke yi domin Allah da annabi muke yi ba mu yi don gwamnati ko don wani ne ko don mi muna yi ne domin Allah da annabi da talakawan da muke tare da su
Jide, only in Nigeria.
Yes. He said they don't want us to have access to these new notes, but we have them. By this, we are telling them that this will not put an end to insecurity in Nigeria. He said people in the towns, they can't lay their hands on new notes, but look at us. We're in the forest. We have been able to lay our hands on the new notes. That these are just a few of the new notes, that we have.
Yeah, and
he said that they bought weapons, even with the new notes.
Yeah.
So if we said, one of the reasons that they gave for doing this is that it will stop terrorism, banditry, and all that. But you can see this bandit leader already has new notes.
Defeated.
New notes that you and I do not have. I know many people have come to me to say, Jide, do you have new notes? I'm not a bank MD. Where will I get new notes? To even go to the bank now, you have to think twice because fight may break out there. So I don't have new notes. But here is a bandit brandishing new notes.
Emeka, do you call it audacity or, as I said earlier on, we drop the ball somewhere?
Well, I believe the security agencies will investigate and trace how these guys got to get the money from such illicit vendors of Naira notes, or otherwise they could pose as agents of these bank officials who want to sell notes and lay their hands on the notes.
Does it not tell you that these terrorists, these bandits live amongst us?
Of course, they
intermingle. They come to town.
Of course, it's an open.
And we know them.
Well, when you say we know them, it's not because I don't know them, but it's possible for them to have people, to have errand boys who could have gone to the POS to withdraw the money, and they came out.
Not POS. This is not.
No, sorry, I'm talking of the ATM. Sorry, I mean ATM. Who could have gone to the ATM? You can't
withdraw ATM.
So,
you can't withdraw 10 million.
I'm looking at one side of it. Then the other side of 10 million. Well, that needs to be really investigated. The security agencies need to investigate to be sure that they are not just putting out
I'm tempted.
You see, Emeka, you appear to think that things are so well sewn up in our country.
No.
Because you're assuming that these boys are bluffing. No.
I don't assume it.
It is the poor people.
Yes.
It is the poor people who are suffering. They also said that there is the poor people that is this suffering is only the poor people that can suffer. These boys, they are millionaires. They have access to good money. They buy very expensive weapons. One of them was even boasting that he bought this armor personnel carrier. You know how much one costs? They have money. People who have money, the kind of money at the disposal of these guys, can bribe their way through anything.
Yeah, through any bank. Yeah.
They could even have agents even in some of the banks.
Wow.
So why won't 10 million come out? What is 10 million? It's just the same way that Nigerians thought that politicians will not be able to find money for election.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, what kind of reasoning is this? Politicians, some of them have bank MDs that they installed as bank MDs.
Oh, yeah.
Some of them have shares, major shareholding in banks. You think when they need money, they will bring it to them where they are. And that's why I always praise this senator from Borno South. We politicians, if we need this money, they bring it to us. It's the poor people who are suffering. This is what Emefiele and the people supporting him do not see. No one is saying, don't do this thing, don't do this thing. But there's nowhere
The system, yes.
where you do it and put this kind of time ceiling. Elsewhere, the two currencies will be legal tender. But once you take the old note into the bank, it never comes out. Gradually, they phase it out.
Chide, but,
you understand?
But permit me to say this. You know, Nigerians have trouble with timelines and time frames and so on. Do you know?
That's not the reason for this one.
No, I've not said so. But I'm saying,
because that's where you are headed. You see, the truth is, we've talked about absence of banks in many areas.
Across the country.
There was an analogy that I gave here some days back. I said in Zamfara State, 17 local governments, you will find banks in only 4 towns. Just 4 towns. Just 4 towns. Kaurana Moda, Guso, Tala Tamafara, and which town again? Kaurana Moda, Tala Tamafara, Guso, and Shinkafi.
Okay.
Nowhere else. The whole of Sokoto, North Senatorial District, there is not one bank. 491 kilometers, 8 hours journey from Kaduna to Sokoto is only in 4 towns that you will find banks. A journey stretching across 3 states. Now, how do they bring, you need to go to some of the states of the north and see what our people are encountering. There are very few banks. I was in Yola, only one branch of Access Bank in Yola. That's the state capital, just one branch. The crowd that I saw in the bank, I was terrified. I merely wanted to transfer money to my UBA account because that's the one that I have ATM card for. The crowd was too much. Now some people have been going there for days. They can't even deposit the money because of the crowd. This is what we are talking about. Yeah. If people need to travel like 2 hours just to get to the next bank, insecurity worsens some of this situation. Now, yes, by the time you get there, you are meeting a crowd. In spite of that, even the currency is not sufficient. I always say that people can hoard only in seasons of insufficiency. Even petrol. If government wants to solve this problem today, that they flood the market with PMS, honestly, those queues will disappear. We've seen it happen before. But when you don't have enough, people will hoard, people will inflate the price. That's what is happening. There's not enough. The CBN has shown clearly its incompetence in implementing its own policy. First, there should have been no need for this short time ceiling. There's nowhere else. We are talking about the UK. We always talk about the white people. Why are we reluctant to copy the good things that they do? Over there, 2 years to change the currency.
Because we are black and because we must go on another commercial break. We'll be back, but please don't go away. Stay with us.
World Games 2018, Gold Coast, Australia. 9 gold medals, 9 silver, 6 bronze medals. Let's go. Birmingham, United Kingdom, August this year. The best Commonwealth record ever by this country. 12 gold medals, 9 silver, 14 bronze medals, 35 in all. Nigeria emerged the best ranked country in this last Commonwealth. We placed 7th position on the final medal table out of about 67 Commonwealth countries, and we broke many records and set new ones. For the first time, we produced a world champion in athletics for this country, Toby Amusa. Olympics 2016, our Super Eagles won bronze for our country.
This message is brought to you from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
A day to remember in the history of our dear country, Nigeria. 9 wise men from the north who are governors came together on June 8th, 2022 to stand for equity and fairness in the interest of our nation, Nigeria. They buried personal interest for the unity of our country. They supported the call that power must shift to the south in 2023. They chose a Nigeria agenda. We salute our brothers and sisters in the northern part of this country who, in spite of their vote advantage, continue to propagate the unity of Nigeria by promoting rotational presidency between the north and southern part of the country. Let voters in the north follow the move by these leaders. Vote for power shift to the south. It's the turn of the south to produce the president in 2023. Let's vote Bola Tinubu for president for a renewed hope of better Nigeria. Vote Kashim Shettima as vice president. Vote APC. Long live the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
All right, folks, let's drive this home now. Emeka, shall we talk about the CBN, the POS, and the 10% thing?
Is it not more than 10%?
More than 10%.
In places.
It all depends on how desperate you are to get money.
I was asked to give...
No, if you're asking for 5,000,
1,000.
they will take 1,000 from you.
Yeah.
Is that 1%? Is that 10%? That's not 10%.
It varies from place to place.
That's 20%.
That's 20%. That's not 10%.
And it depends on how desperate you are. You know, one of these guys...
And more people are desperate because they must feed their family.
One of these reality show was saying that at a party, people exchanged, 1 million naira for 700,000.
Just to spray.
Just to spray money. So if somebody is talking about procuring weapons, 10 million naira new notes, then what it says is that CBN should just, the government and central bank should just come out and apologize to Nigerians. Then...
Elsewhere, even with these pains that our people are going through, should have resigned.
He should resign because
if he has,
it's unfortunate, it's disastrous.
If he has conscience, if he has integrity as tiny as a mustard seed, for inflicting this much pain on our people, by now he should have resigned.
Yeah, because you are just making the poor people to suffer. You're just making the ordinary people. Look at people sleep at the banks.
Sorry, Emeka, let's quickly take a call from Campbell. Is reaching us from Kano. Campbell, how do you do? Good evening. Are you there?
I'm there.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go.
How is currency in your place?
Thank you. Hello, citizen.
Yeah, have you seen the...
How is the currency problem in Kano?
We are facing a serious problem in Kano. We are facing a serious problem. Let me give you an example. And we have to contribute our ATM card and submitted it to one person to go to ATM for us since morning around 5 o'clock. Up to the present that I'm telling you, you will not get anything. And all the POS around the community, they are all shut down. Nobody could collect money. In this morning, I have to beg before I can see 2,000 naira for me. That is what you are facing. In the market on Saturday, I was there. I have to contribute and buy things together on the spot. They now pay for one POS before we can carry things back home. These are the things we are facing in the country. And we have to do something about this thing.
Yeah.
Thank you, citizen.
Thank you. Jimmy, our problems are man-made.
Yes. The person who came up with the idea that within so short a time, without thinking of the
fallout,
the fact that a good number of Nigerians are unbanked. They are not money launderers. There are people who are millionaires. They've never entered a bank in their lives.
Never.
They have had cash
for cultural and religious reasons. Some of them, banks like Jai's Bank, were designed for them. They don't want interest on their money. They believe it's against their religion. But we've not done enough to even woo such people to begin to use the banks. It's a steady thing. I gave the example of South Korea when they decided to go cashless. They were giving incentives to business people, to some of them like tax holidays and all that. So those are, they will go cashless and then be agents of that change by talking to their own customers and all that. Not that you can just impose cashless policy on us when suddenly, when we don't even have the infrastructure to back it.
Yeah.
For 3 days, I was struggling to transfer money. I couldn't.
Network.
People had money, they had network use, they could not transfer.
Yeah.
You can imagine you are even in the airport. You wanted to do transfer, you couldn't. I sent someone to buy food for my wife that was fasting. He came back to say the network was down. And there's no cash that we can use to buy the food.
Not that
so,
the cashless thing is a bad
no one is saying it's a bad thing, but we don't have the infrastructure, the payment platforms that are effective enough to support us to do it at the scale that the CBN governor wants it done. This is the point that we are making.
Emeka, at a time like this, you are looking for patriots who will stand by the country and not the government. At a time like this.
Well, are you talking about desperate people who want to milk the system or the hungry man on the street? Patriotism doesn't count at this time. People want food in their stomachs. They just want to get money. Well, what is patriotism? The hungry man. I mean, just imagine, okay, BK was talking about his wife. There's a man who can't feed his wife and children. It's not that he doesn't have money in the bank. Do you know a situation where a bank, you get into the branch of a bank, they can't even do a transfer for you? Yes. They say it's only to accounts within their own bank. So
it happened to me
it's
now.
so bad. Meanwhile, CBN advertises payment platforms, charging billions. What has happened to those platforms? Have they collapsed? Or what?
Infrastructure
Emeka Jide, Abubakar Ali is reaching us from Kaduna. Hello, Kaduna. Welcome. Good evening.
Thank you, Citizen Jones. Well done with your crew. Thank you very much. I want to comment on this Naira note redesign. You see, on this Naira note redesign, one is forced to think otherwise, that some people are against some people. This Buhari is supposed to understand that some people among his cabinet are cabals and they are against APC and the APC candidate. They want to incite Nigerians to go against APC and the APC candidate. That is the only reason why they are doing all these things.
Oh boy. Thank you, brother. Time is the master. We must wrap things up. Jide and Emeka, we must go.
Thank you very much.
Let's go and look for money.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, the Naira has become more elusive than the dollar now.
And you get the impression
it's easier to get the dollar now.
You get the impression that what the Naira loses in speed, it gains in distance. So you are looking at it, and they think they look at you.
They don't see him for picture, so you can't get our hands on it.
We saw it on the video.
It looks good.
All right, we must go. That's just about it for now. If you missed any part of this program, watch at 11 for a late edition. And then, of course, don't miss the Sunday edition. We have a 2-hour stretch for you from 1:30 in the afternoon. Hangout is on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I'm Citizen Jones Hussein. Bye-bye now.